Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into College Football Mornings. I am Chris Moxley. You can find me at ChrisMoxley19 on Twitter. And once again, everything I do at campuscanton.com. If you are new to College Football Mornings, it is our in-season weekly show that also happens daily. Weird phrasing there, I know. Giving you sits, starts, news, waivers, betting, etc., all in a compact form on the C2C YouTube network. If you're watching this show on YouTube, make sure that you like this video and you subscribe to our content. That helps us get our content out there and hopefully spread the message about how great college football is. We have a bunch of shows on our YouTube as well. If you are interested in all sorts of college football, from recruiting all the way through recruiting from Debbie to even talk about NFL in some capacity, we have it all, including the official, which is Campus Canton's recruiting podcast, Debbie Debate, Bet on C2C, and the new show, Friday Night Lights, talking about high school player production. Today is our PrizePicks 5 and 5, which means I give you 5 PrizePicks props, hopefully in 5 minutes, and then we get out of here and win us some money. Let's kick it off. Aiden Robbins, under 82.5 rushing yards. Last week, we were on Aiden Robbins over 81.5 rushing yards. The UNLV running back, he gave us 79, and unfortunately, we missed it by 3. This week, I think that we fade him at basically the same number. The San Jose State defensive line is quite good. They're 5th in defensive line yards and 42nd in limiting rushing explosiveness. I think Robbins is going to have a hard time getting things done on the ground, and San Jose State is a 7-point favorite against this UNLV team. He might just be game scripted out, despite being such a huge workhorse for this Rebels team to start the season. So we are on Aiden Robbins under 82.5 rushing yards. Second, so let's keep it in the same game. Siobhan Cordero over 18.5 fantasy points. The UNLV passing defense is quite bad. They're 109th in EPA per play on defense. And he has rushing upside. Actually, this number is probably 3 or 4 points too low. So I am all over Cordero, over 18.5 fantasy points. I think we are getting a nice discount on this, and it might move up before kickoff on Friday night. Another one I think is too low for a quarterback. Emory Jones over 13.5 fantasy points. The Arizona State quarterback has been pretty good. He's been over this in all but one game so far. And he is going up against a defense that is 108th in passing explosiveness in Washington. They let a similar type quarterback in Dory Thompson-Robinson kind of run all over them, have a super big day. Obviously, Emory Jones isn't that type of player to the same extent, but 13.5 is way too low for a defense that has a bunch of question marks coming into the season due to their losses in the NFL draft. But also now, we haven't really seen them be shut down, and it was evidenced by UCLA scoring 42. I think Arizona State and Emory Jones can get over this 13.5 fantasy points pretty easily. I think this number is, again, too stinking low. Fourth, Peyton Thorne over 22.5 completions. This is an interesting number because Michigan State is throwing more often in neutral game scripts than they were last year. This year, they're throwing at 56% rate, which is 22nd in the country. They're also a 20-plus point dog against Ohio State this week. I think that Peyton Thorne is going to need to throw 40-plus passes. And if we think that he's going to have an above 50% completion percentage, then I think you need to be on this over 22.5 completions. I really like this number. Again, he's hit this number in 3 games so far this season. I think this number for Thorne is not quite factoring the game script enough, trying to find those edges. Finally, another UNLV line. Again, I really like this game. I think that PrizePicks may have dropped the ball on some of these numbers. Ricky White over 4.0 receptions. I think they're overreacting to a down last 2 weeks. He still hit this in 3 of 5 games. In fact, he's been over 6 receptions in 3 of 5 games. And he has more than 8 targets in 4 of his 5 games. And the lowest number of any targets in those games is 4. He's a huge piece of this offense still. I am not fading him based on a 0 2 weeks ago and an underwhelming performance last week. I think we stick with him. And again, just as I talked about the game script not being in favor of running back Aiden Robbins, I think Ricky White is a primary beneficiary of that game script. And San Jose's front 7 is a lot better than their back 7 in terms of coverage. So I think Ricky White is a primary beneficiary. Let's run through them again. get y'all out of here. Hopefully use these to build your lineups and make some money. First, Aiden Robbins under 82.5 rushing yards. UNLV is going to struggle to move the ball in the trenches, and they're underdogs. Siobhan Cordero on the other side of the football, over 18.5 fantasy points. This is too few based on what we've seen from the UNLV defense thus far. Emory Jones, over 13.5 fantasy points. Arizona State could put some points up on Washington. I am not willing to write Emory Jones off in this matchup. Peyton Thorne, over 22.5 completions. They play Ohio State this week. He's going to need to throw the ball to keep this game even remotely competitive. With a game where he could throw 40-plus passes, I think that you need to be on his completion over, which is 22.5. And finally, Ricky White over 4.5 or 4.0 receptions. Don't overreact to the last 2 weeks. This is still a guy who has seen 8 or more targets in 4 or 5 games. We keep riding Ricky White, and I think we're going to be profitable doing so. Again, I am Chris Moxley. You can find everything I do at ChrisMoxley19, but more importantly, you can find everything I do at CampusDuCanton.com. Hopefully, we can win you some more money. Hopefully, we can keep this train rolling. This was your PrizePicks 5 and 5. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video.